What's up? Welcome to a new episode of Movie Schmovie. This is episode number 448. My name is Steve, one of the co-hosts of the show, and as always, I'm joined by
Right.
I'm a politician, which means I'm a cheat and a liar. When I'm not kissing babies, I'm stealing their lollipops. And I'm John.
the lollipop stealer from kids. Good to see you guys. What do we got planned for this episode today?
I predict the loosiest, goosiest episode of recent memory, because I don't think any of us really know what we're doing except for required viewing. we have a correction / retraction that we need to make. We have a required viewing. There was a trailer we wanted to talk about. I don't know what else there is. I just feel like this is this. You came to this one for the vibe, folks, and also to find out what we thought of classic. I was calling this an action movie, but it's not. It's more of like an espionage thriller.
Yeah.
Hunt for Red October, that is.
It really is. Like, this should have been just called Battleship.
You know what? When they did the Battleship movie,
should have just called Battleship.
They should have just re-released this with like a new poster.
And marketing.
Yeah. It makes perfect sense. It's like,
since we're getting into this, why don't we just get into this? And you can tell us what your pick was again, John, because I think it got chopped up a little bit there.
Yeah, and I started to call it. I started with red. I was like, yes,
red. I heard that. Yeah.
Red.
It's red. It's the Bruce Willis Telemere.
It's fans call it red.
It goes by short.
But, yeah. You guys watching Red again this weekend?
Classic Saturday night.
But so yes, the Hunt for Red October, a 1990 espionage thriller directed by John McTiernan from a novel by Tom Clancy and starring Alec Baldwin in a role that I would say, like, later other actors became more famous with the name of this character being attached to what, like Harrison Ford. It was like, oh, he's playing Jack Ryan. Well, even when they brought in, I guess Chris Pine has played Jack Ryan and Ben Affleck has played Jack Ryan. It was like this name. When this movie came out, I don't remember hearing like Alec Baldwin is Jack Ryan. It's more like an ensemble piece, and he's the sort of the CIA guy at the center of the story. But this is a movie that I had always known about, and I guess I knew less about than I thought I did, because I didn't realize certain key things about it that I guess we'll talk about. But it was just always kind of a blind spot for me. And when we started doing this feature, and as you guys know, I have a list. I put this one on the list just because I was like, yeah, that's one I should see. And at this point, I don't know if you guys do this. If there's a movie you haven't seen that you feel you should see, you kind of mentally shunt that into the required viewing space. You're like, oh, maybe that's one I'll call upon. So I thought it would be a fun one to watch. We talked last time about it being a dad movie. This is a dad movie. This ends with a man bringing home a teddy bear for his child. You know, like, this is a dad movie. This is about like grown men getting together and kind of like talking things out. You know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. This is like the ultimate dad movie. So if I thought about it, I might have saved this for something around Father's Day or something. But at any rate, I was glad to finally sit down and watch it. It looked good to me. It's one of those big movies. I felt a similar feeling, not necessarily exactly in terms of style, but you may recall when I, for this show, watched Terminator 2 for the first time. And I came back basically saying like, oh, Jimmy Cameron, he knows how to put together a movie. And I'm going to say this, I'm going to put together this bold statement right now. John McTiernan in 1990 was kind of cooking. And this is like it's a well-made, it's a slow burn. I mean, that's another thing I didn't quite realize, is how long it was going to take to get the players into place. So yeah, I guess I'm going to throw it to you guys. There's not a whole lot to say about the story to this without getting into what some of the twists and turns are, and I think we might talk about some of that. But Ronald, I believe you'd said you hadn't seen this movie in quite a long time when I pulled it up.
Yeah.
So yeah, what was it like for you to go back to it, or did you find maybe you didn't know it as well as you thought you did?
Only clips, honestly. Like, I'd only seen clips, I realized. But I mean, the cast is insane. I mean, Stellan Skarsgård, Tim Curry, Courtney B. Vance, Jeffrey Jones, Sam Neill. It's crazy. Like Scott Glenn, James Earl Jones. It's crazy. The more people that pop up on screen, you're like, oh, I know that person. That person is very famous and probably led a movie that I love. It's like or was a villain or something in the movie I love. One thing that was really cool about it is although it's espionage and all this stuff and global conflict, it was really very easy to follow after a while. Like it felt a little muddy at first, just because it was like the slow burn, and then once the conflict kind of arises, you really realize like it's like who's going to kill who, or is the person actually going to defect, and all these cool things, like these kind of levels of things, and then there's the very smart black man that nobody believes. That's like, look, it's very weird. I think I heard somebody singing. I think I heard some signals. I've seen something that's an anomaly. It feels weird. They're like, shut up. Don't. Dummy.
Shut up,
Can't
Courtney B.
believe it.
Vance. Actually, I will say, though, I
Courtney
feel like
Vance.
Scott Glenn is pretty cool to him when he brings him the information.
He is.
I really liked that scene. What does he say? He says,
That was a cool scene.
Relax, Jonesy, you've sold me. I thought that was a great
Yeah,
line.
that was cool. It was cool.
But he does make him think that he's saying what you are doing, Ron. Like he's acting like, and you got this. You ignored. You basically got the computer to do something it wasn't intended to do, and now you're second guessing the information that we have, and you've come up with this tape recording. And he was actually kind of impressed. But no, I just want to say, Courtney B. Vance was honestly like the biggest surprise in terms of the cast. I thought he was great in this, and I actually thought it was like a really cool character that didn't play. I mean, it wasn't the stereotypical character you might expect when you see the sole black man in a film like this. Or the only one on the sub. I guess James Earl Jones was lurking about, but he wasn't in the main thrust of the story.
I mean, you talk about standing on business. I mean, he legitimately didn't let it go the whole movie. He's like, anybody that can hear it, he's like, something weird's going on. I can't figure out what it is, but might be a sub, might be, I thought that was really cool. But just the idea of like, the technology and why it was happening the way that it was, why the sub wasn't detectable I know all that stuff was really, it should have felt like just exposition dump. But really what it wound up becoming was because these were anomalies, you had to explain it the way you did, because it was like, this is new technology. Nobody knows about this. So this exposition makes sense because it's applicable. It's like if I were to be like, there's a shoe that turns invisible. You're like, how does that work? And I'm like, well, they'll make the shoe disappear. It does, it's like, it kind of all made sense. It really fit in a way that I enjoyed, actually.
Ronald, that's a great observation about why this movie feels so efficient with that kind of thing, is because it is a movie where the characters that are talking about this stuff, I mean, this is good exposition. I've been noticing this on Andor. Lots of conversations where people need to get information to somebody, and the person that they're talking to is the person who has the information that they need. And it's like a well-constructed story where, like Sean Connery is doing something, what is he, Ramius, the captain of the Russian sub. He is doing something that maybe only his first officer knows about. So he does at different points have to kind of explain his plan, Alec Baldwin is the CIA analyst who's like a nerd who's like got a theory, and he's like, oh, what about this? What about that? He's got to be explaining his shit. There's a briefing. Yeah. Oh, you got to go brief the White House. It's like, it's very integrated exposition. But I think the thing that you touched on that is so interesting to me is, and I think this is something we come back to again and again, this idea of like, how long in a movie are you supposed to not know what's going on? And at what point do you wonder if you've missed something? And I feel like I did spend the first maybe 45 minutes of this movie going, have I missed some piece of context or narrative? But what you said is very true, that if the muddiness was much more because Sean Connery's doing something unexpected. Amongst the Russian subs that are following him, the one we're focusing on, piloted by Skarsgård, they're doing something kind of unexpected and vindictive and personal. Alec Baldwin's doing something experimental that's off the books. You know what I mean? It's like, and the U.S. sub is, everybody's doing something that's like, what is this? It's a little bit, like you said, it's an anomaly for everybody. And so the fact that it's confusing may not be the right word. You follow the through line of the story, but I did find myself going, I think I missed something, and I'm going to have to go back later and find out what it was. And then you realize, no, you didn't really miss anything. Even that conversation between Connery and the the officer he kills at the beginning, that makes you think he's this villain. Even that scene, you can kind of tell, oh, they didn't really explain what it is they're talking about that Sean Connery's trying to do that this guy's going to stop him from doing. So I started to relax as soon as I realized, oh, I'm not supposed to understand what's happening. This is like the mystery of what's happening is what we're watching. Steve, you seem to be the one who was the most familiar with this, but what was it like watching it again? Did you notice anything new this time?
Not really. I mean, not to go over everything you guys said already, but I mean, I've always loved this movie, and it's very dad heavy. I remember watching this a lot with my dad in the 90s. I mean, especially because this kind of like in the whole series, jump started the Jack Ryan series. So when it went from this to, Harrison's run, and then not so much the Ben Affleck one, but those three films. Like,
well, they blew up Baltimore in that one. We take that personally.
That's true. Yeah. A little bit of hate there, but those three definitely through the early mid 90s were like staples. Those, but this one specifically, just that what you said. It's a little less action, a little more thriller. Espionage elements, like amazing cast, and also just like a really competently made film. Like, interesting note, it nominated it for 3 Oscars and won an Oscar for sound, what's now called sound editing, but it was called sound effects in the 90s, early 90s. And went on to make what would now be $500+ million worldwide in today's dollars.
Wow.
So a thriller like that, and again, this is coming off of a book property that was, kind of destined, hopefully, for greatness in their eyes. But I mean, that's a shot out of the cannon. That's huge for like a thriller of that kind to make that kind of money in the early 90s. And also mentioning McTiernan, also John DeBont, like shooting this film. Incredible run for him in the early 90s. Jumps from this to Basic Instinct, Direct Speed, Direct Twister. I mean, just a really kind of that late 80s, early 90s, this kind of movie. That a lot of those movies might be flagged a little bit as dad movies, but but they're hitting on multiple cylinders clearly when they make that much success at the box office, and also are critically acclaimed. A movie getting nominated for Oscars in the technical categories, but also launching a run for a character that still is on TV today, is still enduring, but this was the start of it. So it's kind of cool to go back and watch in some ways how it, different this iteration in the initial introduction to Jack Ryan is. But comparing it against the recent Prime Video series, which I think I've only really watched part of the first season of, but I don't know. I've always loved this movie. It's just a great cast. I really appreciate kind of, Ronald, I think you said it earlier, like, you can follow it. I mean, it's not complicated at all. Right, though there's a moment where there's a few moments where you're like, am I missing something? But that's almost, it's, intentional, I guess, in ways. But I don't know. Yeah. Just coming back to it was a lot of fun. I mean, I haven't watched it in a little while. I feel like my buddy that I work with, we were talking about this group of movies. Like if you were to make a playlist of movies that you'd group around something like The Hunt for these were blind spots. We were talking about it. I think it was a blind spot for him, or one of the films in that series was. But I only had really discussed it recently. Haven't watched it in a while. But I'm a big fan, man. I really liked coming back to this, and it kind of makes me want to go back and watch, I guess, Patriot Games and Clear Present Danger again. Yeah,
I had the same thought of like, now I remember this kind of, and I remember Patriot Games being more action, but still kind of an adult thriller kind of thing, more so than like a like when we say action movie from that era, you picture something a little more like pulpy or fast paced or bombastic or something than this. So this is something different. I also think it's just noteworthy. Maybe the most normal that Jeffrey Jones has ever been on screen.
Yeah,
and also Tim
coming
Curry,
up multiple times on the pod.
Tim Curry, right? Is this my second in a row? No, you did Howard
the Duck,
and we had Jeffrey Jones for that. So
Ronald did that one,
but also Tim Curry maybe playing the most tamped down normal character he's ever played on screen as well. So it's like
sure.
It's interesting how much like this is just it's kind of got that spy movie thing. There's lots of conversations and there's a lot of mechanics that are required to get him onto one submarine so that he can then get onto another thing so he can get onto this other submarine so that you can have the face-to-face interaction between Jack Ryan and Ramius, which is kind of what you're looking for in a movie like this. And I do think people still do this, but I think in this era you really did sometimes. It was more common maybe to build a movie towards the moment when the two main actors are in a scene together.
Yeah,
it feels like kind of a thing to do, but like also just a story to have that feeling of like you're waiting for Unforgiven, you're waiting for Gene Hackman and Clint Eastwood to be kind of on screen together. And I think in this one, even though Jack Ryan you feel him kind of sketching out the character in this. In some ways it's a shame Alec Baldwin couldn't come back to the role, which was what he wanted. But there was a conflict. He says it's because he was doing Streetcar Named Desire on Broadway and it was a conflict.
Yeah.
It sounds like the production was like wanting to get rid of him because they wanted Harrison Ford in the first place. And Harrison Ford, I think, was fine as he would be with, a script people might like. Okay, I'll do it. I don't think he had particular concerns about taking over the franchise. But I do think it's a thing where Alec Baldwin talks about it like, he couldn't come back and it was a shame, and then the production talks about it like, oh, that was sort of their springboard towards getting Harrison Ford, who they had wanted.
Yeah, man.
But when Alec Baldwin was gone, I think John McTiernan didn't want to do it without him, and that's where you end up with Philip Noyce. Yeah, I mean, this is me paraphrasing a little bit of light research. So, but it was just kind of interesting how much I was like, oh yeah, this at this point, like it was only a couple years later that Patriot Games came out. So this was like a regular franchise that was rolling at this point, the Jack Ryan franchise.
Yeah, 2 years. So 90, 92, 94, and all of them basically made $500 million.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty, I think Clear and Present Danger may have ended up making the most worldwide.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's nothing. I mean, that's amazing consistency. And I think that some of the screenwriters through the first three were the same, but, thinking about just that franchise in the early 90s, it's just like, that was a pretty incredible run. Mm-hmm. And also just and think of Harrison Ford's career, the franchises that he has associations with, like what a lucky bastard. Mm-hmm. It's like, even if you dip down into the Jack Ryan of it all, it's like, he's also Jack Ryan.
Well, what's funny is Jack Ryan becomes president or acting president at one point in one of the books, right? But Harrison Ford did not do that. They didn't do that book with him. I think they maybe were going to. And then at the point when they finally did another Jack Ryan movie, I'll switch to my other background image just because I thought this one was good. Yeah, there we go.
Just one of the guys.
This is what it's like in America now. The fact that it was like, by the time they would have maybe done one with like an older Jack Ryan, but by the time they were doing the one that Ben Affleck did, it wasn't even really like Harrison Ford wasn't really in the talks, I don't think, to do it. But there was, I don't know if you remember, there was like the plan was for him to come back and do it again for a long time. And then it just kind of fell off. It was one of those movies that went into development and too many screenwriters or something. But no, it's an interesting thing when you look at it that way, that like they were ready to make a sequel to this film. Like, Patriot Games is, and it's interesting too. It mirrors I know this is a strange comparison, but if you look at the Pink Panther movies, in the first Pink Panther movie, Inspector Clouseau is a character. Maybe he's the breakout character, but he is a character. It's not an Inspector Clouseau film. After that, the sequels were all Inspector Clouseau films, and I think you can look at this and say, like, this doesn't feel like Jack Ryan in The Hunt for Red October, but the next movie, Patriot Games, is much more of a Jack Ryan in Patriot Games kind of
Absolutely agree. No, it's a good observation.
That's the one way that this is like the Pink Panther franchise. No, I loved seeing Sam Neill. I loved seeing all those actors you named, Ronald. But I do think Courtney B. Vance was the one where I had to go. Is that because I was like, oh, is how old is he in this, and then how old is Courtney B. Vance? Because he doesn't look that old now. But he's always been good, right? I mean, he's one of those guys that I don't know. I'm always happy to see him pop up. But this was a really cool part, and I feel like he was doing something a little different. Like he was playing what you were saying, Ronald. There was an insistence to him, the way he was very reasoned and very. It's like he was, you know, what he was doing to me. It felt refreshing. Normally, you watch a movie like this from this era, and if there's one black man on the submarine, he's got like a Walkman and he's like roller skating backwards and shit like that. And it felt like this character was defying that stereotypical kind of thing, and it really made him feel more interesting right from the start. The fact that he's like. You know, just they're not doing that at all with that character. They're not using him for comic relief. They're not using him for any of that kind of cheap shit. So, but yeah, I'm glad to have seen this. This was I wish
Me too.
Good watch.
I wish I both want to see the alternate dimension where we got. Well, actually, I guess we did get Harrison Ford as the president. We could just imagine Air Force One. Just imagine that.
I thought you were setting that up for that.
No, honestly, I was thinking that, but I didn't have the thought fully formed. But in a way, you can just go to that movie and like pretend every time they say whatever his character's name is that they're saying President Jack Ryan.
There you go.
But I wonder how Alec Baldwin feels about that. Like, did he never really had a big action franchise or like that kind of franchise, did he? Like Alec Baldwin's been in a lot of, I mean, I guess Mission Impossible, but he's not the marquee. He's a part of the ensemble for sure on that. So
yeah, I don't think he's got that franchise.
Yeah. It's just kind of interesting to say that like this might have been, if he had done 3 or 4 of these, there might be a different view we have of Alec Baldwin than we did.
Yeah, if he exactly. If he had gotten to do the 3, or at least in the in that timeline of 4 years, that would have been pretty. Yeah, that would have been that. I don't. Yeah, because he doesn't have that. He would. That would have been his role, or something he would. I mean, there are tons of other acting credits that he has where he's great in the movies, but like that's a franchise.
And like
he doesn't have that.
And what that does for you as an actor, and the reason why so many actors. If people out there are wondering why so many good actors sign on for what you might think of as like garbage movies or B movies or whatever, it's because they're like, oh, you mean I get to bankroll my entire existence
right
forever and have my name be on people's minds in a way that it wouldn't be otherwise. This is reminding me of, maybe you guys saw this. This was a great Colin Farrell quote. So he was saying that he has a problem with the whole one for them, one for me.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Where it's like, because actors and directors will say like they make one for Hollywood that's like a big mainstream movie. That's one for them, and that gets them the ability to go make one for me. You know, the one they care about. And he said he finds it offensive that some rich actor is saying the one where they made $10 million is one for someone else.
Yeah.
But no, I do think that Alec Baldwin, we think of him much more as like one of the highest level. Well, we think of him in a lot of ways now, but like one of the highest level like working actors. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'm rolling through his credits, man, and it's insane. I mean, like as a reminder of everything he's done.
But like he's a movie star for sure, but he's not like that movie star guy. He's like, the actor who's going to do a play. He's going to play some small role. He's going to play the father figure, but he's like always done it, and he's been very consistent.
Yeah, really pretty awesome filmography, especially through the 90s.
Great dad, really sweet to his daughter, especially on the phone, and and other things that you won't make light of. But no, that reality show to me feels like that feels like a step down to me. Like,
I've never watched it.
The fact that he's doing it, I've never watched it, but it's just the fact that it seems like it doesn't seem like the smart move. Do you know what I mean, Ronald? To do the sort of, to act like a Kardashian style family reality show?
It.
How is it?
Aaron watches it, so it's like.
Don't you love those reality shows though? Like this is like catnip for you, right?
I like trash, like absolute.
Is it not trash?
No, okay. This is like a different. No. I'm like it's like actually pretty good. He's like really trying to like process the grief of it, and his wife is incredible, and his kids are cool, and he's just washed up. It's nice to see somebody so washed up. He's a great actor. I'm not talking about his acting ability. I'm just talking about, he walks around a little bit and gets winded. That's washed up. But it is really cool to see how behind his wife is, man, because he is broken by this whole situation.
Oh yeah.
Like it's like every like couple hours he would just like cry. Like it's just like it's not on his heart. I say that. Like it's not one of those things that he thinks is like a part of him in that way. But this became synonymous with him. So yeah, I've watched like almost all the episodes.
I guess I thought it was like the Osbournes or something. So it's not whimsical. Okay.
No, it's like literally about him processing the whole thing, and it's like just specifically about that because he kind of goes in and out of guilt, like these like intense belts of guilt, and he winds up taking it out on people. So it'll be like he'll get mad. He's like, "Shut up and give me some chicken." Then he's like, "What's wrong with you?" He's like, "I'm just processing everything going on." But yeah, it's kind of comes up every once in a while.
If he does the show for like 10 seasons and he's just being an asshole with people, he still says he's processing, it's kind of like, come on, man. I mean, yeah.
Right. Yeah, come on. Yeah, that's wild.
All right. Well, Alec Baldwin was the tangent, but Hunt for Red. I keep wanting to call it Red Hot October. I realize that's what my mouth wants to say is Red Hot October.
Say it, John. Just say it. I mean,
I'm having a Red Hot October here with all these hot Russian sailors. Look at them behind me. I got to say, there was a moment where I looked up and I realized I had been jotting some notes and I missed the part where Jack Ryan got water sprayed all over him. And so in that last scene when he comes down and he's all dripping, I thought that was sweat. And so I had to rewind to see that, I had missed that when he's like crawling along that catwalk, like water spraying in on him at one point. But yeah, that was a funny moment for me because I was like, man, I've never seen a sweatier performer in it,
Yeah.
So, yes, whose turn is it? You, Ronald.
That's what they say. All right. So, I was going to do a gang movie, but I decided to do an audible because a very special movie is coming out on Hulu on May 9th. And that is the directorial debut of Jillian Bell, who comes from lots and lots of comedies. Look her up. You'll recognize her instantly. You know her. She wrote and directed a movie called Summer of '69, which stars Chloe Fineman and newcomer Sam Morlos. And it's essentially a teenager who wants to 69 a boy, and she gets this advice from a exotic dancer in the town. It looks incredibly funny. This might be the one.
The one what?
The one about 69ing that
the one about 69.
Oh, that one. Yeah. Yep.
There's a serious lack of comedies in the movie sphere in general, man. Like, so I feel like this will be Summer of '69 will be maybe it'll be a special one.
And it's got to be great to have the three of us with the topic of 69ing.
Yeah, of course.
It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be very easy to have a very adult conversation about that.
Yeah.
No, she's great. She's definitely one of those people that if people think, who do I know? Like, yeah, you said it.
And everything.
Just look up a picture of her and you'll realize you've seen her be like a hilarious cameo in any number of things. And she's had a couple of larger roles too. But
For sure. She's been in her drama stuff is kind of crazy too. She's in The Master. It was like one of my favorite P.T. Anderson movies. It's like it's cool. She can kind of do everything. But this is a Hulu movie. It comes out May 9th. So I mean, you may want to skip the end of maybe when we talk about it because it has some spoilers in it. But we have access to it because we have access to it. That's why I picked it.
Well, I'm
That's
wondering
one of the reasons why.
when we get a chance to talk about it because we don't know exactly when we'll be back. We should go ahead and position this to folks. Normally, we know when we're taking a break, we're like, we'll be back in 2 weeks. But there's a possibility that we'll be off for a month, possibly.
There's a possibility. I'll have to see. I'll have to see how the days play out, fellas.
Yeah.
Got a lot of travel coming up, and only a few days in between it. And if I can make it work, I'll make it work. So hopefully it's not that, but
yeah. Just so you folks know.
Put that out there, possible.
Yeah, if you know. Yeah. But that gives you plenty of time to watch Summer of '69.
Yeah, for sure.
And we've done that before. I don't know what our longest break ever is, but we may have had like a month or 2 months. I remember one time there was
a really long run.
There was a break that we basically were like, "Are we doing the show still?"
Yeah,
and then we said, "Yeah," and then we kind of have been consistent with it relatively since. But anyway, so that's exciting. I like to watch a sex romp.
Yeah, man. Why not? With Chloe Fineman, I mean, it's good to see SNL members in the movie.
Well, it's like Bowen Yang's been out there a lot recently, but it is always kind of fun to realize that show still creates a crop of people that go out and that you see popping up and things. So,
what seems to pop up? The shine on the top of my head, man. It's fucking crazy.
I got a little nosy shine going on. Or shiny nose might have been a better way to put that. Yeah, my words are not with me tonight. I gotta say,
word good, John.
Word good. That's what they call me downtown. Johnny Word Good. Here comes Johnny Word Good.
Johnny Word Good.
No, this is a long week, following a long week, and I'm at that point in the week where I'm dazzled by every time I get one of those things done that's on the list, I'm dazzled by it. Sure. But there's something else slotting right into place to follow it. So it's just,
Yeah.
So it's like I look forward to maybe sleeping in this weekend, maybe Saturday. Maybe I could sleep in on Saturday. That'll be great.
I had to take off Monday, man. I woke up and it felt like it was 11 p.m. I was like, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me? I'm like, I was up the normal time, 5 a.m. I'm like, it feels like I didn't get any sleep.
Damn.
Yeah, I was rough. So I just kind of rested that day. And
you ever done like a sleep study? I'm curious about how many times I actually wake up during the night.
I have sleep apnea. I know that for sure. I need to get a CPAP probably. I'm working on that, I think.
When I heard someone say something like they went to get a sleep study and they found out they woke up like 87 times in the night or something, that I was just like, oh, wait a minute. How many times have I woken up, not just unrested, but with lots of memories of like tugging the blanket up over my shoulder or noticing the lamp was still on or whatever. And it's like, wait, I don't really clock that. But each one of those times I open my eyes or notice something, I'm waking up. And then I think, wait, that can't be good. You're supposed to get at least 3 or 4 hours or 5 hours of uninterrupted sleep if you can. And I definitely don't. I almost never get that. And if I do get 6 or 7 hours sleep, I wake up. I feel like kind of like what you said. I feel like I'm drugged. I'm like, who shot me with a dart? I think I got enough sleep. I think that's what's throwing me off today.
Just feel whooped, man. I felt whooped. I had to take the day off. I was like, there's no way I'm going into work like this. Like I would have just slept at my desk, which would have been nuts.
Well, you're supposed to have a day every now and then.
Yeah, man.
You get to catch your breath. Well, so we do have a slight retraction, kind of a fun little retraction, only because we went so full blazing into a topic last time that we were wrong about. So, Steve, maybe you can explain the confusion and maybe lead us into this cool trailer that.
No, the only reason that I came to correct myself was that it's like week after week we have the I guess the fortune to be excited about 2 horror properties. Last week we were talking again about Sinners, and I swore, and I think I tried to find the tweet that like made me even more wrong, but basically that there was a correlation between Jordan Peele, Monkey Paw, and trying to get involved, or that they were a part of the bidding war for Sinners, but it was not the one that I thought. It was not the one that was tied to him letting go of his management for losing. Mm-hmm. So that was for Zach Cregger's Weapons, the writer-director of Barbarian. When he took out his next feature, that is the one that had like a massive bidding war. And that's the one that Monkey Paw lost. And Jordan Peele fired his longtime manager. And that was as much of a news item as the fact of who won the bidding war for Weapons.
Yeah.
And then going back and finding articles about it, was like, it's crazy. Just the excitement around Zach Cregger's next film after kind of like not a little sensation, a sensation that Barbarian was. Mm-hmm. To the point that, Weapons is attracting bigger names, bigger budgets, bigger bidding options. And it's just like, talked about before this week, even before a poster or the trailer dropped, as this like kind of horror epic in the line of like a Magnolia kind of thing is what a lot of the things are, kind of refer to it as. But yes, Jordan Peele lost out on weapons, fired his manager, and Cregger's went on to make this movie. And this week we got the first poster. We got some teaser stuff over the last week, but the poster finally came out, and then the first trailer came out. And man, this looks so good. It looks so good. I mean, just like I love the poster so much. Like the more as I was sending it around to my friends, I was like, the more I saw it in my text chains, I was like, I love that kind of poster that uses like the negative space in the image to tell you everything you need to know about the movie.
Yeah.
It shows you a creepy image of kids walking down the streets with their arms out at night. And it just has that like 4 or 5 lines of on the night of whatever, kids, whatever, at this a.m. And they never were seen again. It was like, all right.
Yeah.
I'm in. And then the trailer comes out and it's like, okay, cast is awesome. And apparently the trailer really, and that whole concept of the kids, it's like that's a part of the movie. Like that's the hook. Yeah. And the movie just kind of goes wild. Just like kind of, I guess, I'm hoping it's, as exciting as it was, to watch Barbarian, because that was like one of the better, or one of my more favorite like horror watching experiences recently, just because of how there's no predictability to it.
Well, I mean, and even if you could say the story was in a linear sense, you could predict it. The structure of the movie was so fun, and it did make me think of like a Paul Thomas Anderson movie or a Tarantino movie or something, with the fractured storyline and the kind of chapters, and Zach Cregger's background in comedy is very, there's a unique like that it's like Jordan Peele correlation between someone who knows comedy and knows laughs, and then being able to take that same mind and turn it towards scares. But it's a similar idea. It's an interesting thing too. When the story is Jordan Peele is going to part with his management, you go, wait a minute, hasn't Jordan Peele had one of the most successful and like well-curated careers at this point as a producer and as a director? But that feels like a real, I mean, maybe there's a match there. I even remember people talking about those films in the same breath. The Barbarian had a kind of comedy background to its creators, similar to the way Jordan Peele comes from sketch into that. So I wonder if there was like if he feels simpatico with it. But either way, when someone has a movie like Barbarian, James Cameron's making the sequel called Barbarians. But when someone makes a movie like Barbarian that is kind of surprising and artistic and fun and interesting like that, you do get excited when they say their next one is an epic, because people don't really do horror epics that often, or try that hard to do like horror epics. So I love the idea of someone really swinging for it, even if it looks like a lot of the imagery in Weapons is pulled straight from an idea I've had forever. So we'll just have to see about these kids walking off at night. Let's see how far they go with that idea and where it goes, because I may be burning, some a nearly finished manuscript, maybe going in the trash pile.
Holy shit!
But it's a great image. I mean, it's at least when somebody out there, I'm sure it's happened to any of us that think of ideas. When someone else takes an idea of yours, sometimes at least it's like, oh yeah, it is a good image. I was right. This trailer is very creepy and effective.
My whole Michael Jackson biopic just taken right from under me. I was like, man, I want to make a biopic about Michael Jackson. Lo and fucking behold, these assholes steal my fucking idea.
Which biopic?
Not the one that came on VH1, where played by Flex. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's incredibly bad. But the new one that's about to come out, I guess,
who's playing him?
Epic. His nephew or something.
Oh. Yeah, his nephew.
Okay. His nephew, who sounds and looks just like him, but just didn't have the hair, so they just like connected a wig to him or something, and he looks and sounds just
like that. You say connected a wig to him.
Because it's not the way they used to be. It's not like
you mean
glue shit. They like glue shit down. It's like,
resolution is not kind to wigs though. Like full HD, whatever. Yeah. Like you see the weave a lot of times around. It's very rare not to notice. No, so that's like a family-approved biopic of Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
So yeah. So they will probably have the songs, but you also know it's going to be probably a pretty rosy picture.
Yeah, of course. I wonder what's going to happen in the end. It's just going to be like, it's going to be, I know they're going to do something where he's moving slow and they're going to fade out and have the words like, innocent of all charges. No one ever, it's going to be like, you know how it's going to be, man. It's going to be fucking weird. But I can't wait to see it. You think they're going to split it up? You think they're going to split it in two like they said they were going to?
Oh, I have
That's
no
apparently
idea.
the rumor. That's apparently the rumor of it because they're redoing some stuff with it.
Yeah. Rumor has it because they're supposed to fucking what's the name? They're supposed to like apparently they took out a whole chunk that was like offensive to them. Speaking of offensive, it bothers me that Prince Netflix documentary is never coming out.
Yeah, same.
Somebody has to change their mind about this shit. It sounds like it's like a really interesting portrayal of Prince that people might not be ready for, but we may learn to love him a little more. You know, he never felt like a three-dimensional person to me. Like not to.
No, you don't know anything about it. It's almost hard to picture him. It's so much so that when you see an interview of him just kind of speaking extemporaneously about something, you go, "Oh yeah, I guess he did do that." Like, "Oh, he went on the Ellen show or what?" Like, I guess I forget that he did speak publicly and say like talk about television shows he was watching or a sandwich he ate or something like. But I just to me, he's like an alien being. So no, I have that same, he's in that Bowie slot for me. So no, I agree with you. No, that's very true. I felt the same way, and I kind of wonder if eventually it will have to it'll have to surface somehow.
Because I feel like they might have to do the like LeBron thing. There has to be like a musical version of LeBron that like interferes like the Last Dance. Like LeBron was like, put that shit out. They were like, yes, sir. But you know what I mean? Like if somebody big in the music business speaks up,
and
kind of is like, hey, we kind of need to see this movie. That'd be cool. Yeah.
But Weapons is coming in August, right? So that's pretty soon. When it comes out,
that looks exciting.
Yeah, and that's the other kind of like tell for the confidence in the movie because apparently the test screenings for it have been like through the roof. That it was supposed to come out in January of 26.
Oh.
And they pushed it out of that area into that end of summer kind of again kind of counter programming what used to be a doldrum of movies that there wasn't much to see at that time of the summer. But now there's always at least one or two that come out at that time of the year that really do kind of hit and find an audience and, kind of feed like the appetite for something original, something new. And I think it's a very exciting thing because it sounds like it's an awesome another original kind of horror thriller thing, which is just great and exciting.
Yeah. No, I'm excited for that. Cool. And I guess it did seem like, that's sooner than I thought, but I had not remembered that I had probably heard that it was that January
coming out later
when it's coming. Well, I have a little bit of since we were just talking about horror and we were mentioning Sinners, this is vaguely related to Sinners. So I have a little physical, little Johnny Gets Physical, not the name of this feature. Okay. Johnny Wordgood Gets Physical.
Johnny Wordgood Gets Physical
at
Johnny
Hops. Physical. So I just there's something I wanted to mention last week and I forgot to, so now I can do it as just a little breakout section, just because there was one thing about Sinners that I do see people mentioning, but people aren't talking about it that much because they're not in the movie that much. But I think it's cool the way they're not in the movie that much. It's almost like its own kind of commentary that they're not. That the indigenous people in the film are basically they're there. They seem to know all about what's happening with the vampire. Yeah. They try to be useful, but they're really not trying to get involved. And they just are like, the sun's going down. Let's get the fuck out of here. But if you had the thought of, are these like Native American vampire hunters, or what do they know about the vampires? How do they relate to this? If you're wishing that movie could have given you more of that, an author who I think I've recommended on the show before, the Blackfeet author Stephen Graham Jones, has a new book that I'm just about 50 pages into, and I'm loving it. It's called Buffalo Hunter.
Oh,
and it is It is about, seemingly at this moment, I believe we have like an indigenous vampire. And we're seeing the point. We read the account of like a white minister and his encounter with this Native American man, and we're about to find that the Native American man's, like, I'm about to read his account, or I'm just in the beginning of reading his account of like the same story of what's been going on. And so I don't know if we're gonna have. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what the makeup of the story is. But Stephen Graham Jones is an author who, he doesn't always do this, but this one deals with vampires. He does a lot of like his own take on genre stuff. Like he had a book called Mongrels that was about werewolves, but it was a very unusual take on werewolves that got totally into like the lore and the mythology and the way it works, like his envisioning of it. So in this story, I'm expecting there to be a fresh take on vampires. But really what's great about Stephen Graham Jones is just, it's a very similar thing to what we've been saying about Ryan Coogler or Jordan Peele. He just infuses that perspective of an indigenous person, but without skimping on the genre thrills and spills. But there's undoubtedly, not symbols exactly. You don't really want characters who represent shit. You want characters to be characters. But there's that thing of like ideas and themes that are kind of dripping through that, puts him in the same neighborhood. Like I think if you took any number of his books and made them into a film, they would feel like this type of thing where it's got a social conscience to it, but it's also very knowing about where it fits in horror.
That's cool.
And yeah, he's a very prolific author. This book's getting great reviews. Like I said, I'm only about ankle deep in it at this point, but really, really great writer, really good book. And also, you gotta love when they do the colored pages on the side. I mean, come on. But yeah, Stephen Graham Jones, Buffalo Hunter.
Cool.
And if you're his best book, in my opinion, that I've read is the Only Good Indians, and I think that's the one I may have recommended on the show a long time ago.
That sounds familiar.
It's a really great book, and it's only my favorite because it's it's amazing, But his other ones I've read have all been great too. So
that's awesome. What else? Anybody else watch anything? I mean, it's been a dry week for me. I haven't really seen much at all.
Gareth Evans.
Oh, you saw Havoc. Tell me, how was it? That was one of your most anticipated.
Yeah, it was one of my most anticipated. I see why it took so long to make. It's like, I don't know, man. It's like a lot going on. There's a lot of insane stunts in this movie, and then it has like a grittiness to it. It almost looks like, what's the name of that movie? Sin City, but it's in color. It's like gritty looking. Like it feels like a bunch of artistic chances were taken with this one. This feels a little more like he tried to throw everything at this. Like it's like Gangs of London meets Raid meets. Yeah, it's crazy, man. I don't know if I've ever seen so many people shake from bullets riddling their body. There's a lot of it. It's crazy, and more people at once. There's a lot of like parties where people are relaxing, and then it's somebody like, "Hey," and everybody's like,
"Hey."
Yeah, they always say something. I don't know what accent Tom Hardy's doing. It's like it's clearly like a mafia boss from the 30s.
Okay, I saw a column. I did not read it, but I just saw the headline. Someone was suggesting that Tom Hardy. They said we thought he was going to be a new Marlon Brando, but he's become a new Nicolas Cage. And I thought about it, and I was like, he does do. He is not full Nicolas Cage, but he does do, like, it seems to be whatever pleases him. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't seem to have his nose in the air about certain things. So I'm just, let's clock this. Where does this fit in the Tom Hardy classiness scale? Is this like Al Capone taking a shit on himself, or is this like, what's one of his better ones, Bronson or something like that?
It's definitely on the lower end, just in terms of the accent, but the action is good, man. He's kind of built for these sorts of roles. Like, I don't know where this place is. It's like, it's in the middle of hell. It's like hellish amounts of violence. It's like, just people get stopped at red lights and then two motorcycles come and they just shoot everybody in the car. It's like, what the hell? What is this place? But I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's a little loose on story, heavy on action, a lot of gun fu. But then what it does make me realize is that John Wick really took the genre and polished it in a very specific way. Like where this tries to do a kind of chaos that doesn't care about how much you care about how many people are dying at one time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You realize that John Wick kind of scales it down. It's like it's a cool one-on-one sort of thing. This is like anybody can get it, and I love that too, honestly.
Yeah.
And it would be really cool if John Wick had a villain that conducted themselves a little less like John Wick, because everybody's kind of like, come on, one-on-one. There's none of that in this movie that the Raid had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it just lacks that. Somebody gets hit with a fucking washing machine. Like somebody's driving in the car and a washing machine is thrown out of. It's that kind of crazy movie. It's like the violence is so hyper intense. I'll give it a 10 out of 10. But I mean, if we just talking about the story kind of sucked, but the action was nuts.
10 out of 10. The story kind of sucked.
The story kind of sucked.
That's like literally everything I've read about it. It's like it's just kind of all over the place, kind of a mess, a bit incoherent at times, but never not at least entertaining.
Yeah.
Like if the action pill is what you're looking for.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm going to still check it out. I actually almost watched it yesterday. It's around time.
Just get ready for everybody doing the hammer dance when it gets shot, man. It's like, ah!
I want to see a montage of that, of every instance of. That's one of those things I want a supercut of, is people doing the dance. There's Miller's Crossing has a goon that like gets shot through the floor, and he like shoots his machine gun all around while he's getting shot. I'll just mention a couple things I've been watching, just because I've been watching some good television. Righteous Gemstones is getting closer and closer to the very end, and they gave us an episode this week that felt very much like the last episode before the finale of a show. So it's like that finale doesn't have a whole lot of story to deal with, and that makes Nikki and I were saying, like, we hope that they leave everybody in this relatively peaceful, happy place that we've left them in the end of this most recent episode. Yeah. But boy, did things get crazy. And it's like, if you're going to bring in Michael Rooker, there's only a few things you're going to bring him in to do, and he did them all on this season of Righteous Gemstones. I also want to say, we haven't talked much about it on the show, but since I think we did in the first season, but Hacks has been back for a few weeks, and the fourth episode that just aired was one of those. I don't know if you ever are sitting there with the person you watch a show with, and you have to stop at the end and say, that was a really good episode. Like the most recent Hacks was one of those that like pulled together some stuff and had like an emotional punch and had a fun cameo. And it's just, I don't want to, if you guys haven't been keeping up with the show, I don't want to say necessarily where it's going in the story, but this current season of the show, Jean Smart's character is basically she's become the first female host of a talk show, of an 11:30 network talk show, which is crazy that a show made in 2025 can use that as a plot point, that it's actually still true that there has not been a woman hosting an 11:30 talk show for a network. So that's the backbone of the story is that, and you can almost see how they're going to get into some fun Larry Sanders-ish sort of Hollywood satire with people coming on playing themselves. And like just the joke you can do when you're doing a fake talk show where you have the host say, coming up next, or tomorrow night, we've got Shabuzi and Nancy Pelosi. You know, it's like, I love that. I love that type of commentary about talk shows.
Yeah.
But where the show really works is that Hannah Einbinder and Jean Smart's chemistry, and characters that have to be at odds for the show to be interesting, but they have to be friends for there to be a show. So the back and forth has just become, it can be kind of tortured at times, but the current round they're on of like why they're at odds and how they're finding each other through the mess has just been satisfying. And the most recent episode had a really like a heartwarming kind of punch in it, and it felt like, okay, this is like an episode that it's just satisfies you, So you just don't sleep on hacks, folks. And then also, I mentioned it last week, Andor is here, and we now have the second of 4 batches that we've just gotten, and not as strong as the first, but some of the stuff in there is just amazing in the spirit of this show. So, I think it's going to continue to sort of be a heartbreaker, and like I said before, a great entry into the Star Wars mythos that I, for one, grew up with and love, even when it's bad. even when like I love Star Wars, even if when you love a franchise that has that many permutations, when you start to see the good outweighing the bad, or the bad outweighing the good, and potentially, it's nice to have some good. Anything else?
I don't think I stayed up to date on the studio and Your Friends and Neighbors. Really enjoying both of them. And I didn't get to watch any movies this last week, which is really sad. Except for Hunt for Red October. That was the priority.
Well, I will soon be seeing Thunderbolts. I'm excited. The word on that has been strong. I guess, folks, if you look to us for that Marvel Schmarvel drip, it's going to be a little while maybe before we can talk about Thunderbolts. We'll have to see. But we will at some point talk about Thunderbolts on this show.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I am too. The word has been so good. And it's not the usual advanced word where you go, oh, these people, they're always going to say another hit from Marvel, But when people use specifics and talk about the actual, the things they liked, you can tell there's a little bit of a different tone. So
definitely,
I'm very annoyed when people say it that movies are back, but maybe movies are back.
Maybe they are.
Maybe they are, man. Something's happening. Something's in the air.
Well, Sinners having amazing. We should talk about that second weekend. I mean, just because we do track this stuff, that was a pretty. That doesn't happen. But whether people know it or not, most movies, even the biggest hits in the world, have a shocking percentage drop in gross from the first weekend to the second. And this was one where it still was a drop, but it wasn't anywhere near what people expect from a movie like this.
I mean, it's 6%. I mean, that's insane.
Right. That's 1/10 of what a lot of hits have,
Isn't it the lowest drop ever for a horror film?
I kept seeing changing, when they phrase it so specifically, I kept wondering what the actual end was of where does it sit? Because it does seem like that if you're down, even if you're down 10, 20% drop, that's pretty amazing for this kind of movie. But to almost potentially, there was a possibility that it could have made more in the second weekend, and that would have been a real evidence
Crazy.
of the word on the street, so to speak. People are really talking about this one. And I've even seen a lot of people coaching people. It's funny when a horror movie does this. People that don't see a lot of horror movies kind of need to be coached. Have you seen this where people are like,
I did.
guys, you should really go see Sinners. I know you might want to be covering your face for the last half hour, but you still should see this one. And I think it's interesting. Ryan Coogler's kind of doing a little nasty trick on non-horror fans because he made a movie that feels culturally significant. That people who don't like blood are going to have to figure something out. Maybe he'll do one of those maybe he'll do a G-rated edit.
Yeah, it was a lot of people I'm so afraid of. It's just fucking see the movie.
Well, I saw some people saying this movie's demonic, and then I think the way the movie maybe makes an argument for witchcraft over organized religion. I was like, well, maybe some people are going to see it that way.
No!
But the movie makes that point in the nicest possible way,
I mean, I think it's kind of a love letter to the idea of there are many religions that someone could practice. It's kind of this free thinking thing that people forgot about at some point. It's weird,
totally.
Or just that a movie doesn't have to be. It's not sending one message, and and that's the only thing I would say. People are reacting to the depth of this movie a lot, but when people talk about a movie as though what's good about it is that you can break everything down in it to some message or to some symbol, it's those kind of conversations are fine, but I don't think that's what makes it good. Like I remember when people would talk about Jordan Peele's movies this way. And did you notice the reference in the background? There's a book on the shelf that the name is a reference to da. And it's like, yeah, that's cool, but that's not why these movies are good. You know, like that's just proof. And I said this about Jordan Peele. This is proof that these people are doing their homework and they're smart.
Right.
You know,
right.
Yeah.
That's not the reason why it's great. The story and the characters are the reason why you get sucked in.
Yeah.
So.
I look, there's symbolism in a lot of movies, guys. Don't fake deep me to death with this movie. You're gonna probably do this for 6 more months. You got my friends who never talk about movies, hit me with all these fake deep narratives. I'm like, man, if you don't get the fuck out of my face. I talk about symbolism and shit in movies all the time, and this one movie that's incredible, by the way.
Right? No, and it is that deep.
And you're fucking Neil deGrasse Tyson when you talk about it. You know all the science of film now, and so this is shot in 70. Shut up, shut the fuck up. I'm sick of you motherfuckers, man. Fake deeping me to death for the past 2 weeks about this shit.
Fake deeping you. I like the term.
Fake deeping is fantastic.
Fake deeping me is just outstanding.
You know what I'm talking about,
no,
man.
honestly, Ronald, I have
no doubt of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I just love hearing it like 10 times in the last 30 seconds.
Sorry.
It reminds me too of when because I sometimes listen to podcasts where they break down like television shows, and sometimes they're talking about truly great stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're talking about just whatever the best thing is that's on right now.
Yeah.
And they have to talk about it like it's upper echelon stuff. Yeah. And they have to and that's why I've said on this show, I'm so glad we're not married to one property or one franchise or one studio, because we would inevitably be going, well, in this latest episode of, I don't know. I should have had an example. I
feel like Aaron
those are my improv skills right now.
The guy
imagine a thing that it fits the example I was making, but it's just like that thing of you have to act like it's every choice is being made on this high artistic level and what the meaning of it could be, and maybe it's just a thing. Maybe it's just it is what it is.
Yeah.
So fake deeping. Let's not do it.
Don't fake deeping, especially if you.
I'm gonna use that shit all the time.
It comes up a lot because
fake deeping me.
Yeah.
Shit.
It's weird stuff.
Shit. Get that shit out of here.
Well, it reminds me too of how glad I was that when I decided to do the podcast about Better Call Saul, I was frequently glad that the show was actually that good.
Yeah,
because otherwise it would have just been week in and week out of saying, "Hey, that was really good."
Yeah, was really.
Hey, did you notice how the lighting was really good? Yeah, I thought the acting was really good. My favorite part about the music was how really good it was.
How really good it was. Yeah, part of the experience too is just seeing it with people. People just aren't talking about that enough.
Yeah,
I texted.
That's true.
I texted Pierre just how special it was watching it with them. I mean, we've had our talks about how much we love some of the shots and stuff like that, and the numbers being the way they are, and how he manages to make these incredibly palatable movies for everybody.
Yeah.
But 99% of our conversations were like, I'm so fucking happy we saw this in the theater together. I'm glad that we have these shared experiences. I'm glad to know you. I'm glad to be alive at the same time that you are, to be able to watch something like this with you. It sounds super weird, but it's a thing, man. We the three of us get to have these cool experiences over and over and over and over again. And I think, honestly, I have to say this, man, when we're talking about it, I think I took it for granted for a little bit. I think there was that lull that we had. I kind of took for granted how frequently we have these special moments, and it doesn't happen for everybody. It's not like I could go to another two people and have the same experiences. There's a reason why we've been around for as long as we have, why we get along so well. Despite having weird scheduling stuff, we make it work.
Yeah, no,
I like doing it with you guys.
I like that too. I like that aspect of it, and I do remember when we saw Nosferatu.
Yeah.
See, man, my brain is not working tonight. I got it right, and I thought I got it wrong. But when we saw that with them, it was those feelings of like it bums me out a little bit when that, for instance, even though it was not a great movie, it wasn't even a very good movie.
I loved it.
No, I'm not talking about Nosferatu. I've moved on to a different one. I love Nosferatu. Okay. But when I saw Captain America: Brave New World alone, and then went home, and my wife and son asked me how it was, and I was like, it was fun. And then like a couple of weeks later, it was like, well, they hadn't seen it. Oh, they'll probably catch it on streaming, whatever. Yeah. And it was just like, well, that movie can fuck off as far as I'm concerned, because I didn't get to have even the fun post-op ride home, or where you stop and get a sandwich and everybody talks about what they liked or didn't like about the movie. And it made me realize that certain movies really do work with that crowd experience, whether they're good or bad. But like when you see a really good one with a crowd, it's of course a great experience. But I think even just having that communal, even those times where the three of us have seen a screening and we haven't enjoyed the movie that much, I feel like we're just as likely to still be standing. If it could be 20 degrees out and we'll be standing outside shivering for 45 minutes talking about the movie. So there's something. I mean, we've kind of picked our poison. Maybe we love movies, so I think that this is it's an easy way to like latch into like relating with people, because movies give you so much fodder, so
I'm telling you, I'll sometimes go to movies with other people and I have good experiences, but like it's something about seeing movies with you guys. It just makes it fun.
Well, it's because you can fun. Any thought you share won't be too much. We won't be like, man, Ronald's Ronald's fake deeping us about Sonic the Hedgehog.
Well, I think that see, here's the thing. I think Sonic is Martin Luther King, and I think that Malcolm X is Tails, and the way that they work together, it was like the civil rights movement,
right?
I just fake deeping you to die to death with all this.
Love it.
Yeah, but I do love the conversations that have kind of come out of Sinners. Yeah. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people that have just kind of come out the woodwork, never talked about a movie. Mm-hmm. Whenever I try to talk to them about movies, they act like I'm an idiot, and then they're like, "Well, if you look at the type of film we used." Because you watched that fucking Kodak video.
Right. No, I was about to say, everybody saw the same video.
Everybody saw that fake deep-ass motherfucker.
You know what? Let them have their moment, man. They're excited about something having to do with
you're right. You're right.
That's cool, man. That is true. That's
true. Let them have a moment.
That's true. I gotta think about that. I gotta think about that. Yeah. Don't fake deep us to death with all that stuff, man.
Well, don't. Like, what
this episode's got to just be called Fake Deep.
If they're fake deeping, what is it called when you are like pissing on their fake deeping? They could say, well, okay, I won't fake deep you, but don't you? What are you doing?
Don't tree piss on me. I don't know if like bird piss on me. I said something about being really high up on a tree and then pissing on a person as a bird.
Oh man.
I think that's it. We haven't really seen anything else, right?
No, this is a.
I think that's it, man. I think that's an episode. So with that, moviesmovie.com is the website. You can go there to subscribe to the podcast, listen right on that site, or you go to youtube.com/moviesmoviepodcast to listen or watch the podcast. You could watch the whole episode, or you could even just watch some of the shorts that are on there to kind of get the those bite-sized morsels of that episode if you can't take in the whole thing. And yeah, like John, we were talking earlier, we will definitely be off next week. Hopefully we'll be back in 2 weeks and we'll talk a little more about Ronald's pick. What's the name? What is it? Summer of 69?
Summer of 69.
Amazon Prime?
No, Hulu.
Hulu, you said. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Hulu.
Summer of 69 on Hulu. And when does that come out?
That comes out May 9th.
Okay, so it comes out next Friday.
Yeah, next Friday. So
excellent.
We're gonna talk about it a little bit, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll try to get that episode in 2 weeks, so we'll make it work. Thank you so much for listening, and as always, you made our day. Thanks.
Bye.
Someone who was fake deeping, Ronald, if they didn't like that you were pissing on it, they could say, "Don't real deal my fake deep."
Stop
real dealing me, man.
Stop real dealing me. God damn it.